I never knew there was a love like this before. Never had someone to show me a love like this before. I never knew there was a love like this before. Never had someone to show me a love.
What's up, everyone? It's Books&Looks TV. So today I would like to talk about global beauty standards. For generations of Black women, the choice of hairstyles such as an afro was part of a political action challenging the devaluation of Blackness, Black bodies, and Black women's beauty. And I think this quote also just aligns with existing and trying to thrive in an anti-Black world. So when we think about like actors and everyone involved, whether it's like victim or victor or perpetuator of anti-Blackness, it's important to look at like how people internalize it and how they also perpetuate it. And so today I'm going to talk about the global beauty standard and how like natural hair often doesn't fit in, or like how it's like responded to. And so the primary focus of this video is going to be on the Miss Universe pageant. And I'm going to particularly talk about the winner, Wendy Fitzwilliam, and the Caribbean's Next Top Model, and just anti-Blackness and natural hair in general. So Wendy Fitzwilliam won Miss Universe in 1998.
Hi, I'm Wendy Fitzwilliam, Miss Universe 1998, and I represented Trinidad and Tobago.
Miss Universe 1998, Miss Trinidad and Tobago!
Miss Universe is the best temporary and permanent job that any young lady can have. And why? Because you become well known, you become a celebrity, a personality for just being you. You know, so if you think about the life of an actress, she shows up, she does her work on set. There are few opportunities for her to really explore where she's working, unless she's very successful and has the resources to take a little extra time, spend a little extra time on the production. Miss Universe, though, has the opportunity to do the full gamut of experiences. So, you know, your year is built around your particular talents. You do a lot of work for the sponsors of the competition, but you also engage in a myriad of activities, from Hollywood premieres to visiting persons who may have lost their home, as I did in Puerto Rico as a result of a hurricane. Life-changing experiences. And then most of the places you visit, you are truly treated like the queen of the universe, which means it's a tricked out good time.
It said that she was the second person from the Caribbean to win this global competition. The representative from Trinidad and Tobago is the most recent in a succession of Caribbean women to be recognized among the most beautiful in the world. The Miss World title had been won by Jamaica's Carol Joan Crawford, Cindy Breakspear, Lisa Hanna, Grenada's Jennifer Hostin, and Guyana's Shakira Baksh, Trinidad and Tobago's Giselle Laurent. So in 1977, Trinidad and Tobago's Janelle Penny Commission was crowned the first West Indian Miss Universe. And she happens to be petite, Black, and generally just not the conventional idea of female beauty. And it was felt that she had won from sheer bravado and, of course, a dazzling, seductive smile. So basically, this publishing, which I'm going to leave the quote down below, states that they felt that her charisma is what won her over, probably as much or more so than her beauty. And I'm not saying she's not beautiful. I do think that charisma has a lot to do with beauty, and sometimes because people are so fixated on the physical that they overlook how like having a personality can make someone just as beautiful. So nearly 20 years after her success, Wendy would win Miss Universe for Trinidad. Wendy would later go on to co-host the reality TV show Caribbean's Next Top Model. And there was a very disturbing scene that I'm going to play.
Please do not relax my hair, because I've had it relaxed for 15 years and my brand is about embracing your natural beauty and empowerment of Black people. I'm okay with texturizing my hair as long as my curls stay intact. You need to understand that my hair is my identity. People seek me out just because of my hair. So when you tamper with my hair, you're tampering with my brand. If they say that it needs to be relaxed, I will have to eliminate myself.
While shutting down my salon, creating that mayhem when there's so many other young women to get done and to look fabulous as well is a loud non-starter. That's the kind of thing in the real world that gets you dismissed immediately. So that can happen again. Okay?
The contestant did demand an apology for being forced to relax her curls because she did state that her hair was her identity. And she was very vocal about the disapproval with Wendy Fitzwilliam, who again asked stylists to relax her hair for a makeover. So this was filmed in 2017. She even suggested a texturizer as a compromise. So to me, compromising with a texturizer, to me, that's kind of big. So it seemed like she was so desperate to just like keep her curls, even though it wasn't her hair. I guess maybe she figured that she could probably bounce back quicker from a texturizer. Because a texturizer doesn't necessarily make your hair straight. But I think that that's a huge compromise, especially for someone who rather stay natural. So during the elimination ceremony, Fitzwilliam reprimanded Bernard for her conduct and called her naughty and unprofessional. And I'm just like, this is giving very much Tyra. It's giving very much Mean Girl. And I just don't see how it's naughty because you're standing up for yourself.
The European beauty standard is so engraved in Black women that we have Black women saying faux locks, braids, and twists aren't for special occasions like your birthdays. But you know what it is? Straight wigs, wavy wigs, curly wigs, loose curls.
Racial identities are defined through a continual interplay of individual practices and collective action. Each day of their lives, Black women re-articulate the meaning of Black racial identity as they position themselves in relations to culturally available images of Black womanhood. So I think this quote is really important because, again, how we see ourselves can maximize or minimize often our self-esteem or self-worth. A lot of times people admit to how their family members can say, you're beautiful, you're Black, etc. But when they go outside in the world and people are constantly saying, oh, you're ugly, you're this, you're that, you need to change yourself. It's just like, why the hell is my family telling me this when everyone around me is saying the craziest stuff? And some people, they are mentally equipped to rise above what everyone else says, but some people struggle when they see these images in the media or when people who they might value as their peers are telling them, you're this, you're that. So it's really important for Black women to see themselves in positive lights. And so often because we don't, I feel like there is a lot of anti-Blackness. And I do feel like the Caribbean is one of those places, just like a lot of places in diaspora, that suffers from the weaponization of the Black body through slavery, through like colonialization and post-colonialism, which some people would just consider colonialism. But when you're constantly told you're not great, you're not good enough, just like very overwhelming. And later I'm going to play some videos of some women who happen to be from the Caribbean who kind of discuss their upbringing about like taking pride in their natural beauty. And there are also some men who do this as well. So even though these things are like happening, there's always like somebody who's like fighting for the good of representation of Black people. One of them happens to be someone who was also a beauty queen. She's now like into the political world, and her name is Kenish Rogers.
Locks, braids, afros, wave cuts, bantu knots. Here is a frequently discussed, hotly debated, and deeply personal issue for men and women of all ages. That is why in 2020, the Ministry of Education encouraged students to celebrate their natural hair with World Afro Day. As a predominantly Black country, the Ministry of Education understands that the acceptance of our racial and cultural uniqueness means stepping away from ingrained colonial perspectives about the appropriateness of Black hair in schools and professional settings. We want our students to express themselves with respect and to treat others with respect. So the Ministry of Education has undergone an evaluative process to look at the hair policy in the school system. This change in policy will allow students to wear their afros, locks, braids, and other protective hairstyles associated with their racial and cultural identity. One of the most important changes to note is that locks will be generally accepted for both boys and girls. There will no longer be a process of applying to the Department of Education to state that they're being worn for religious reasons. This policy in its entirety will be made available on the Ministry of Social Development and Education Facebook page and the Government of Anguilla Facebook page.
Anguilla became the first Caribbean island to introduce a national policy against hair discrimination. And the Minister for Education and Social Development fought for this implementation of the new hair code, which allowed
all natural. I like the kind of hair that was there for his rights. The kind that kicks screams and protests. The kind that resists and boycotts to every coil. The kind that fights riots around. The kind that won't be quiet for nobody. The kind that won't be anything but black. The kind that refuses to relax.
This change will outpace most Caribbean territories that still require permission for wearing locks to school, she adds. It's important for me to put forward this hair code because your rules and your laws really tell you who you are as a people. We have removed the remnants of very Eurocentric thinking. We are rewriting how we do life here in Anguilla. Consider it our pre-independence.
She was Miss Britain's first Black universe. And so as you can see, there is some progressiveness for women with beauty and intelligence to make positive social change in their jurisdiction. However, we have a long way to go. Again, I'm going to go back to Miss Universe, as we talked about earlier, and how she impacted the life of this young woman. And so though we often like to say people like Tyra Banks and people like Fitzwilliam are horrible women and they perpetuate colorism, which may be true depending on how you look at it, I always like to look at what made someone this way. What made someone feel like they were inferior? Because sometimes it does a level of grace to me. And so Miss Universe, she goes to different places where she talks about how she felt growing up as a young Black girl, Black woman. She shared her experience as a tall, thin, dark-skinned woman to some younger Black girls. And she said, though she was crowned Miss Universe, people still call her ugly. She says the comments got to her so much that she stopped listening to the radio for like 8 years. And y'all know that the radio probably at that time, and probably in a lot of places of the world, is still prominent. And of course, you have like different voices talking just like I'm talking. And some people aren't going to say the most positive things about you. So imagine turning on the radio and just wanting to hear, I wonder what they're saying about me, or I want to listen to some music on my way to work. And you just hear people saying the most ridiculous things. I'm sure that probably would hurt someone. She went on also to talk about how once she was trying to go into like this ice cream parlor in St. James with some of her friends, and a homeless man looked at her and said, "I don't know where you're going. Nah, only dog like bone." And Fitzwilliam shared how she was hurt in that moment because it came from someone who looked like her. And she says, "I can't deny that it did hurt. And I thought it to myself, why are they treating me like this?" And she was fortunate to have parents and friends who always believed in her. Yet when she responded to another Q&A, she said she experienced quote unquote subtle racism. She said her and her sister Dionyse lived very much in a bubble with a very diverse upbringing. And she said her father was a saltfish, easygoing, and had friends from all walks of life. And she said one of his best friends was a white Trinidadian. And her mother grew up in Tortuga, and she had a best friend of East Indian descent. And her first taste of racism was when she entered secondary school. She said that a few girls in her class who looked like her approached her with quote unquote plenty attitude, asking, "Who are you? Where are you from?" Actually, the two girls who befriend her were of other races. So to me, this ain't subtle racism. This is probably territorial, girls just being mean. But the fact that other people of different races befriended her, maybe that caused some of her like internalized racism too. I'm gonna let y'all be the judge of that. So in general, I can only imagine how like these experiences probably contributed to how she viewed herself and other Black girls, women, unfortunately. So now I'm going to play some public opinion and then I'm going to conclude.
Why then, as a country that is more than 90% black, have the grooming policies in our public schools targeted Rastafarian students in particular, and black hair in general? As with everything else, it has its roots in our colonial past. In the book Race and Color in Colonial and Independent Jamaica, Alting speaks to this subtle messaging that paints our African features as negative while at the same time praising Eurocentric features. It's this type of messaging that has been passed down through generations of black children and which our school administrators now joyfully implement. But let's not forget that it was just in 2016 that a corporate area prep school sent home a 3-year-old boy because they felt that his curly hair would give the other children lice. Might I also remind you that it was only in 2020 that Jamaica's Supreme Court ruled that the Kensington Primary School was within their right to ban a 5-year-old child with dreadlocks from their school, and that they did not violate the child's constitutional rights. It is not difficult to see why these grooming practices that are largely discriminatory to dark-skinned Jamaicans with Afrocentric features, it's not difficult to see why it is so pervasive in our institutions and in particular our schools. It serves as a constant reminder of who is really in control of our institutions. It serves as a constant reminder to teach the black underclass that if we want to partake in the benefits of these institutions, we will do so by Eurocentric rules and Eurocentric standards. If we want to benefit, then we have to abandon our blackness.
If I'm not a beauty standard of a black girl, then what is a beauty standard of a black girl?
I know I left a whole essay in your comments, but I want to make it in a video. Society tells us that the beauty standard for a black girl is anything close to being white on a black person. These are truly not Eurocentric features, but is what we think of Eurocentric features, which is a slim nose, light skin, straight or curly hair, colored eyes, so on and so forth. And then we have exotic features. What this means is it's not features common to the black women around you. A good example of this would be Somali women with the straight hair and really dark skin, or Melanesians with the blonde hair. And there's what we like to call a done-up black woman. Having eccentrics like weave, lashes, nails, makeup, and more recently having a curvy body, full lips, freckles, dimples, but these things will go out of trend very quickly. Then we have an Afrocentric black woman, which is very, very, very stereotypically black. Then we have the average black woman, which is the done-up woman when she takes her makeup off.
So this video is gonna rub some people the wrong way, but as usual, all you know, I don't care. I will say what I have to say, and it's that. What is up with the competition going on in Trinidad and Guyana since the beginning of time in how Indian somebody could be, right? Especially with the older heads whose skin more light, feel like the Bollywood actress them. It's almost like it's a sin to acknowledge that you have Afro roots, right? It's a sin for somebody darker to go ahead and mention that they're Indian. You're not Indian, you're not pure Indian. What that's supposed to mean? I have this one aunt and she prides herself in her kids' skin color, about how light they is, how they like to stay inside because they go get too dark if they stay outside in the sun. You could be having a conversation about mango and tamarind, and some point in the conversation she have to mention that she children light skin, just some way somehow that had to come in the equation. My people from the Caribbean, we are loaded with so much diversity, so much Afro culture, right? Despite how you look, if you're watching this right now and say, oh no, well my skin like this, oh no, well my nose, my lip there, you realize it have Afro roots inside of you. Afro roots, Afro blood flowing through your veins from your ancestors. Wake up. When all you're shaking up all your body when the tass are playing, what you feel they're doing in Africa? They're playing that too. And the next thing, Dogla, however you want to say, them have a right to claim the Indian roots too, you know. You can't go excluding them who you feel you is. Now, in defense of the older folks that do this, all you need to realize, slavery days is over, you know. Back then, they were scared to claim their blackness. Back then, if you was white passing, you were safe. If you was even Indian passing, you could maybe be an indentured, so you was safe. But that not happening no more. All you need to learn to be accepting of yourself. Colonization, all of slavery, it's over. It's okay to be yourself, you know. And that's not even all. All you're fighting so hard. Who more Indian than who? And this trip, if all you go India, you know how much Indian people is called? We fake Indians. You know how much people from India don't even consider us to be real Indians? And all you're fighting so hard to claim that, eh?
So earlier this year, I made the decision to cut my hair. Now, you may not know this, but I have dyed my hair, bleached it, flipped it, reversed it. She has to go. The only problem, though, is that I'm Haitian. And the second I told my mom, she made such a big deal about it. As if it was her hair, as if she's a victim, as if I told her I was going to jail. Mind you, it's not even our first rodeo. I've done this 3 times already, so it's not even a big deal. But apparently it still is. I'm also supposed to get married later this year too, and she totally played on my emotions and was like, so how you gonna do your hair now? Because we had this conversation before and I was like, Mom, I don't want a lace front wig. I don't want a wig at all on my wedding. But she was like, oh, so what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You're gonna get married with your hair like that? And you already know what that is, the afro. So now I'm just so conflicted. What do I do? Do I cut it? Do I not?
I did it, y'all. My hair was so overprocessed. My edges just had to lay right until I had none to lay anymore. Today I found the balls to shave it all off so I can begin my healthy hair journey.
The biggest lies I heard about my hair as an Afro-Latina. You look way more elegant with straight hair. You have pelo malo. You need to straighten your hair. You can't wear braids and your afro to formal events. You gotta straighten your hair. Your hair is not very easy to style.
He was going to cut his hair, but then he fell in love with these mini twists.
She's not home, and that's why I can't get caught. We could have been and try to pretend. Oh my God! Look at your hair! Oh my God!
And I'm outside air drying my hair. Alright, so right now I am in Montego Bay, Jamaica, and tomorrow is Sumfest. So may I try to finish this before Sumfest starts. Alright. We look good, not true? We look good, not true? Sumfest. Or outside. Whew. So you know what I just remembered? I just remembered that this past February has made it officially 6 years that I've had dreadlocks. And this is the longest commitment that I have had my entire life. You know, outside of staying alive. So my hair is longer than every relationship I've ever had, right? As a matter of fact, it's almost as long as all my relationships combined. It's longer than braces that I've had for 4 years. Shit, this is longer than my social media presence. But what my locks have taught me is that with a little patience and investment in yourself, it can look good. And I know this because I damn well do.
So in conclusion, advertisements use psychology, scientific knowledge, and rhetoric in order to appeal more effectively to each individual. The consumption of beauty-related products and practices convinces us that we can have the picture life that we dream about. But at the same time, we are aware that the beauty ideals conveyed in media representations by beauty queens, female icons, and celebrities are unattainable. The desire by girls and women to achieve these ideals leads to a dissatisfaction with their bodies and feelings of failure and shame. The internalization of beauty ideals, norms, and standards regulate and shame the self and others, and are implicated in a high incidence of self-hatred, low self-esteem, eating disorders such as anorexia and bulimia, and negative body image and body dissatisfaction among women of all ages and ethnic groups.